So I'm making this short little video of me putting in the 5/8 inch gypsum in the bays here, because I couldn't find any videos on YouTube or anywhere showing how to do this precisely. I read a lot of tips on a few of the websites that discussed Rod Gervais's book, which I have and I was going based on, and there's a lot of tips in there, but they weren't necessarily in the book, so I want to show in the video like what I read and came up with. A couple little things that I sort of figured out on my own. I'm sure other people have too. So I decided to make the use of the green glue soundproofing, noise-proofing compound, despite John Brandt's suggestion that I skip it and that I don't need it. I just figure I'm doing a small area bay. It would only need 6 tubes, and it was really simple. So I'm just doing it in the joists, between the joists for the 2 layers here, and I'm using a tube per, so only needed 6 tubes. I also wanted to point out that if you're doing these tubes, you don't necessarily need the big fancy guns. This anvil one, I think it was like 13 bucks or something at Home Depot. This works great. I also marked on this thing where the halfway point is, so I know exactly when to get to halfway here with this. I better pay attention. That's 1/2. All right, let's turn the other video camera on. For this section, I had to break the boards up because I've got this beam here and it's a bit longer than the other ones, so I couldn't fit the whole length in at once. So, but the first few of these I actually held up there with my pure willpower, whatever, without these stands. But then I realized, wait, I got these light stands. Just use the light stands, and that sure makes things easier. That's for certain. At any rate, so now I don't have to sit there holding it up with one hand. When I first was reading about it, I'm like, what, do you screw the drywall right into the subfloor? That sounds dangerous, because subfloors aren't exactly meant to do that. But then I noticed that that's not what he does. He just puts finishing nails in to hold it in place temporarily, and then he uses 1x3s to hold them in permanently. So these just little finishing nails are just to hold them in place so they don't fall down while you're working. No. Of course, I cut all these boards to be about a 1/2 inch less than the dimensions so that I have room for backing rod and caulk. Okay, so I got one piece up there. This can actually come down now. This one's a little trickier because I got this beam in the way. It's a bit longer. So inside. Let's see. Go. Now, I'm just gotta nail this in. Good enough. Alright, now the step is to add all of that backing rod and caulk. My least favorite part. So first thing I do is I slide these a little bit. A lot of this weight is being actually held in place by the surface tension of the green glue. It's like, it's glue, essentially. Not really, but you know, it acts like glue. And I caulk, I I say one of the things I always try to do is caulk at an angle as much as possible, because I've had this stuff land on my face, on my clothes, on, you know, everything, because it doesn't want to adhere necessarily when you go straight up. So that's a little tip too. Save as much of the stuff as you can by pushing it against a surface. Now if you notice, I'm putting the caulk in first because you want the backing rod to be covered in caulk, and it's the easiest way to do that. You can always add a little more caulk later if you need to. And also in tight spots, it makes it a lot easier to slip in the backing rod, because it's like lubrication for the backing rod. This stuff is the stuff that Rod Gervais recommends he uses on his projects, Big Stretch. So I figured I'd just use that. But you don't need acoustic sealant for this. Any sealant that's worth its salt will be fine. This is nice because it's water soluble versus silicone, which is not. Boy, I'm looking forward to doing walls after the ceiling joist, or even just a regular ceiling would be exciting. I'm probably over-engineering this, but you know what? I got lots of sounds coming through from the upstairs when I'm recording down here that I want to eliminate, and so I'm more likely to eliminate it with overkill. Oh, here's a little thing I figured out that works really well. Use an old caulk tube, small one, you know, whatever. I guess the big one will work fine too. Instead of your finger to shove this stuff in and to move it along. Saves your finger. Also makes your hand longer too. Now, one of the tips I want to show you is, I learned this on one of the forums too. You kind of push up and over the nails if you want to. Or you can just bust the stuff too. But it slips in, especially if there's caulk in there. So, this is the way this works. You just kind of go like that. There you go. Oh, this works so fabulously. Look at that. That's awesome. Look at that. You can't see it though because it's on the wrong side, right? Oh well. Just imagine how awesome it is. It's awesome. Okay, I need to make some space here. They've shifted. Okay, so a magic bar. I use that to sort of pry to move the sheets where I need to move them. When there's too big of a gap on one side, or, you know, too small on another, you can kind of shift them around once they're in these nails. Now, what you'll find here now is the crack has become too small because I shifted it from that to that. And now, there's not room for it, is there? Come on. Get in. There we go. There we go. That's just enough space. Alright, so next layer. One thing I like to do, make sure nails have a little room, is hammer in the nails a little bit so that there's a little concave spot when you're muscling in. Okay, this goes this way. I wrote little notes as to which way things go because these are actually strangely cut. Because, like I said, an old house, so ceiling boards are all in a little bit of a weird spot. Oh, by the way, so these are just little 1 inch or 1 1/4 inch 4D. You don't need huge finishing nails, and in fact, the smaller the better. All right, piece number 2. Can you do that? I guess, whatever works. The old motto, whatever works. Let's just cock there. There you go. 2 minutes worth of cock. That's the end of that tube. Alright, good enough. I gotta wash my hands and get out of here. Alright, I'm back. Continue. Just measure cooking. Oh, this is hot. Helps to be tall. Also helps to have low ceilings, which is not a help actually. I'll do a close-up of what this looks like. So, as you can see, it's a pretty tight, there's a nail, so you can see how I went around it, kinda. And this is the seam I had to improvise. What a mess, right? Lord. And all the way down that end. I was told I didn't need the blocking across there at Spanners, but I just decided to do it anyway. Like I said, overkilling everything. And that's the whole thing. And now we're going to put the 1x3s to... The 1x3s are going in now. Should be the structural to hold that up. Yeah. Made them a little shorter than they needed to be, so there's room to get them up, and they don't need to go the whole length anyway. And that's gonna overkill. So I'm gonna push this up with all my might. Now, like a lever, I'll go down here, put up the other end, push it up with all my might down here too. There we go. And this one's just here we go. Boy, some of these looks like it's just barely touching the edge. At one end there. close up. There we go. There we go. All right. Tell there's no give at all. Pop this off the tripod and give you a close look with this one. 1¼ feet. So as you can tell, you look at that end there, you can see that the very edge of the drywall is pretty close to the edge of this, but it works. I mean, there is no give at all to this. It's tight up against there. And that's what Rod Gervais says in the forums. He's saying that it needs to be tight up against the floorboards, the subfloor, and it is. But look at that gap there. It's pretty close to the edge there. It's barely grabbing on, but there's no movement, so it's doing its job. This side's a little better, a little more like half there. So maybe a combination of the nails and the 1x3s, it all works. But that's it.